Gathering the tribes back to him with humble hearts. His people repent that come together under one big tent. The tribes all dancing out in the sun. The celebration of Sukkote has begun as we raise our prayers of thanksgiving during the feast of the Indian.
Shalom, shalom, Yisrael, Yohanathan Dawi, youth here. Khag Sukkote, Feast of Tabernacles. That was the Sukkote song by Mia. And I want to give the artist last week props. That was the Atonement song by Fred and the Genius Ahaya. So I want to give these artists their props. Fred and the Genius Ahaya, that was last week, the Atonement song. And that was by Jewish sister named Mia, Sukkote song. This is what they call the 9th of October, 2022. And I have to give the House of Yisrael apologies for giving you the wrong date of this time. Going by that Roman calendar, I was 2 days off. But I do have it right because, and it makes sense. I mean, we know that the new moon, remember I've taught many times, the new moon is zero luminosity. So that was, trumpets was on the 25th at 6:29 a.m. So 15 days later, you come here to tonight, 6:46 p.m. you had the full moon. So that's when Sukkot stopped, 6:46 this evening under a full moon. Is bookends on the spring Moedim and the fall Moedim. The spring and the winter Moedim, whatever you want to call it. Because you know you start under a full moon on when you made your great exodus out of bondage, out of Misraim. That was under full moon Passover. So now we have a full moon under Sukkot. So you have your exodus, you're going out, and then you're covering in the Sukkot bookends under full moons. So we bless Yahweh as we are here rehearsing. Remember, the key word in rehearse is hear. Rehearing, rehearing, and I praise Yah for that still we're learning these things. We're rehearsing, we're practicing, getting ready like a faithful bride, ready for the groom to return. You know, you get two Hebrews together, you're going to get three opinions. So we do know we have to have, iron sharpens iron. We sharpen one another. We correct one another humbly and respectfully. So tonight, 6:46 p.m., that's when the full moon is. You get your two dumb thumbs out. You get your smartphone and you can see that exactly. But we should not be lazy. I have binoculars. I have my viewing windows from the east and the west of the house to look. We are supposed to physically observe. Even though, yes, we can get lazy with technology. Genesis 1:14. I want to start off with. This is Khag Sukkote, Feast of Tabernacles. Genesis 1:14. And it reads, Then Elohim said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for Moedim, and for seasons, and for days and years. So already, right here, long before there was a Moshe, even before there was an Adam, Yahweh set up the sun, the moon, and the stars as a sign of the appointed times. Again, we talked about how we know we teach here Yahweh for Christians, Hebrews. Got to put the bruise in there because really it's not even for Christians anymore. It's for us. Is that we know that we're not getting in by keeping 600 plus commandments. We know that it all boils down to treating Yahweh's image right. The remnant, we look like him, he looks like us. We practice on one another. Righteousness gets practiced on one another. So why are you keeping these feast days? Well, this has nothing to do with Moshe. This didn't come down from Sinai. From the very beginning, Genesis 1:14, you had the Yahweh setting up the sun, moon, and the stars, the original place to read the Torah. The Torah was in the stars. You lay on your back, you read the Torah, which means instructions. Lay on your back, look up in the sky, you get all the instructions you need. That's the original setup from the hand of Yahweh. Adam and Mother Hawa missed their appointed time. Genesis 3:8, Yahweh came in the cool of the day. That's this time of the year. That's when the cool of the day. You get up in the morning for your service, your worship service, and your mikdash. You see it's cool. And he came in the ruach, or the cool of the day. Genesis 3:8 tells us, and they were too busy out there gallivanting with Hasatan. They were with the serpent instead of being with Yahweh at the appointed time. So we got Genesis 1:14, Genesis 3:8 that speaks to appointed times. There's some deep lesson I can give you in between, because before this, we had atonement. When did that happen in the garden? Maybe I might get that, drop that to you, Yahweh willing, if we're still here on this earth next year, because that's deep. But we do know at this time is when he came to tabernacle with Adam and Mother Hawa, have a celebration with them, and they were too busy up in the snake's face. So they missed that. Now, reviewing from last week, before we go into Khag Sukkot, we talked about Yom Shel Kaforah, and that began on the 5th at sunset. So now, and we talked about the atonement, the difference between affliction and fasting, because Yahweh does not call for a fast on atonement. The word for fast is som, but the word for affliction is anah. And then I suggested to you that you do som on when you anah, because it's kind of difficult to be in the physical position that we're told to be in when we're humbling ourselves when you got a full stomach. You're going to be having a hard time breathing and be belching and farting. Because there's literally, not exaggerating, thousands of processes that goes on into the body after you eat food. There's all kinds of processes to break down foods and build up, get nutrients out. There's all kinds of things going on. And how are you going to be humbling yourself at the time all this stuff is going on? So I suggest that you do fast at that time, although you're not commanded to. But then again, you look at it. Why are you feeding the flesh at a spiritual time anyway? It's a spiritual time. A spiritual recognition of what Yahweh Shua did for us in our place. What he did, he replaced himself with us. And I want to go to that. We're going to talk about that because I didn't get a chance to read a very important scripture I wanted to read last week. I'm going to give it its due. So we're recognizing a time where he replaced himself with us. And we talk about how the fall Moedim looks to the future, whereas the spring Moedim, well, they're memorials. They're memorials to what has already happened, and we do celebrate them, and we should. I think you should, but they are memorials. They already happened. We already came out of the Exodus, but we're going to come out of the Exodus from Babylon. What we got in Egypt, that bondage was practice for what you got over here in Babylon, which is slavery. Slavery is far worse than bondage. So we came out already. The Ruach HaKodesh, Holy Spirit as you call it, has already hit the world and came out. All that has happened. The death, resurrection, all that stuff has happened. The wave offering, the sheep offering has already happened. These things has happened. We still keep them as a memorial. These winter Moedim are for what hasn't happened yet. Zechariah 12:9-14 talks about all the remnant mourning him whom we pierced. Zechariah 12:9-14. It has not happened yet where there was a worldwide mourning over the pierced one. And we know who the pierced one is. So we do want to recognize that. John 20:4-7. I did not. I think I briefly went through it, but I want to give it its proper due. And last week's topic, John 20:4-7. And it reads, "So they both ran together, and the other disciple outran Peter, and came to the tomb first. And he, stooping down and looking into, saw the linen cloths lying there, yet he did not go in. Then Simon Peter came up following him, and went to the tomb, and he saw the linen cloths lying there, and the handkerchief that had been around his head, not lying with the linen cloths, but folded together in a place by itself." Now, I did a whole lesson on this, so I'm not going to go back there now, because this is just, I just want to tell you, this is deep. This is tearing, this section here that you miss when you don't read it in Ibarit and from an Ibarit mind, and see why are these details in here about a linen cloth, why he took time, why he take time to take the cloth over his face and fold it and put it separate from the garments that he came up on, the bloody garments that he came up on. Why is that in there? Just to fill in space? Torah doesn't do that. It doesn't do additives and fillers and whatnot. It doesn't do and ums and things that we do. It's every word is life. So these words are used for a reason. I know they talk about the shroud of Jesus and all that stuff. My wife and I went to Israel and we saw that. We know that's bogus. But this, why? This we talked about. When I give my lessons, it's not for no reason. It's all leading and connected. I did a whole lesson about linen and about the righteousness of linen. That may have been boring to most of you and didn't understand the connection of it. And it led to this. Why linen? Linen has a resonance of 5,000 megahertz. You wear pure linen, you're healing your body just by wearing it. And getting a little deeper, this linen, I talked about Rahab, and I did several lessons on Rahab. Rahab the harlot. That was her job, laying on her back to take care of her family, which included a father. Now, how deep is that? You have a father living under you? I can see having maybe the mother, she's older, and you have your brothers and sisters, and you got to make because father died or something. He's living there too. Yet this woman was a righteous woman. She had linen on her roof and preparing for her gown. We talked about that. And she ended up marrying Salmon, which is in the who's one of Yehuda, who's in the line of the Messiah. So the Messiah came through her. And I propose that the linen garment that Yahweh wore was her wedding dress. Now the outer cloak that they divided in 4 pieces, the Roman soldiers, that was different. That was outer cloak. They didn't divide that linen garment. They cast lots for it. They said, "Oh, this is special. We don't want to tear this up." And they gambled for it. That's what the Roman soldiers did. They gambled for that. The outer cloak, they cut in 4 pieces and kept. As mementos, whatever you call it, when you have war prizes or whatever. But that, they didn't tear that up. So I propose that linen wedding garment that Rahab made when she married Salmon was what Yahweh was wearing. Now, why did he take the time to fold it up and put it separate from the garments? Then it specifies in here in Yochanan 20, there was linen. So he separated what covered his face from what covered his body. I'm not going to go through it, but I'm going to give you the scripture. I've gone through this before. Whole lesson. So I'm just going to give you the scripture. Deuteronomy 22:13-21. Talks about the laws of sexual morality. Deuteronomy 22:13-21. Yahweh Shua follows the entire Torah and everything. And if you read that, I'm just going to give you the summation of it. A man gives his daughter to the groom. So they go out and do the nuptials. They go ahead and do it. And then the groom says, "What? She wasn't a virgin." He accuses her of not being a virgin. And he kicks her out of the house and rids himself of her and annuls the marriage. So of course the daughter comes home crying to her father. Where else you gonna go to? Father, what? You played the harlot in my house? You was living under me playing the harlot? No, I did not play the harlot. Really? Well, go get the sheets. You get the sheets, and he brings sheets. If he sees blood on the sheets, well, if there's no blood on the sheets, then yes, indeed, his daughter played the harlot, and she gets burned. But if there's blood on the sheets, it goes to the judge, and he says, this man accused my daughter of being a hoe. They did the marriage rites, and here's the blood. She was a virgin. She was innocent. So of course I was going to take her back and can never divorce her all day. She gets all her rights. She gets double of everything because he lied against her. So, what Yahweh showed, this is deep. This, you should get pimples on your head. Yahweh showed, yeah, I went through all that. I was on a tree. Yeah, y'all blooded me up, stoned me even. Remember, he got two judgments. He got the Roman judgment of execution, crucifixion. He also got the Hebrew judgment of stoning. People always miss that part. He was stoned also for 3 hours. So he got totally bloody, beat everything, whipped everything, crown of thorns, all that was buried fully blooded. Buried. If you was there walking by, you would say that man, how guilty was he? He had to be very guilty. He looks worse than the other two on each side of him on this tree. He looks every bit as the guilty party. Every bit. He has all the looks of it. And we and the whole entire creation looks at him as guilty. And he's only absolved after that third day resurrection. Then you know, oh, indeed, he was innocent. So he was like, bat out, back. Put that linen cloth right there. Folded. He folded. The record says he folded it and put it to the side. And laid it down right there so they can come in and see it. Indeed, he was a virgin. He did not play the hoe. He was innocent. He was innocent. That's why that scripture is there. John 24-7 is there to back up Deuteronomy 22:13-21. He was innocent. He juxtaposed himself up there. If we was up there, we'd be guilty. We'd still be under the grave because we're guilty. See, here's the thing. Yahweh Shua, the whole play is all about the redemption. It's the greatest story ever told. The greatest story ever told is a love story. And I had decided this morning I'm going to go back and redo all of those again about this love story, probably in what they call January, if Yahweh tarries and we're still here. Because I'm thinking, hey, this is a difficult time we're going through right now. But in this love story, down the street, Hastan has his hate story on Broadway with the red carpet going in. And the tickets are free. Go in there and watch him do his thing. But Yahweh Shua is over here, and the tickets are free. Your job is to accept the redemption ticket. That's my job. Our job is to accept your ticket is in the thicket. He was in the thicket, supplanted Abraham's son, Isaac, on the altar. He's always supplanting, taking our place for what we deserve. So your ticket's in the thicket. Yahweh Shua, in the play, he's on stage. You're sitting there watching. You got him for free because you accepted. I want to see him work my salvation out. Yahweh Shua plays the lamb. He plays the goat. He plays the lion, the rock, the water, the ark, the rod, the branch, the root, the tree, the dove, the ruddy heifer, the disobedient son who gets stoned. He's the remnant. He's the groom, and he is the bride. Yahweh Shua enacts all of these roles in his brief ministry of no more than 3 years. He enacted each role, and there's even more. I didn't have to name the main ones. Each part he played, he enacted and revealed to us perfectly. And all we had to do is be in the audience to receive it. Because if we were on stage, we would mess it up. We would mess it up. And we would not resurrect. Because we are indeed guilty. We're guilty. He was not. He juxtaposed himself for us. So I just wanted to give that some more time. I had to because it's too beautiful, it's too powerful, it's too poignant, it's too profound to overlook. Now on to today's topic. We're talking about Sukkot. Sukkah is the singular, Sukkot is the plural. It's in, well, the scripture we're going to go from Leviticus 23:33 to 43. A lot of threes there. 2, 3, and 4. Leviticus 23, 33 to 43. Khag, Sukkah. Then Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month will be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days to Yahweh. On the first day there you will be a Kodesh convocation. You will do no customary work on it. For 7 days you will offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh. On the 8th day you will have a Kodesh convocation. You will offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh. It is a sacred assembly, and you will do no customary work on it. I am going to have to do another lesson, probably right after we finish this, because next week we're going to do this last great day, because this has a last great day to it. We're going to do that next week, Yahweh willing. I want to talk about this offering made with fire. This word fire is important, and it's salient, and it's indicative of today. It's all about relationship, and it's deep. So I'm going to give some time on that, about this fire. And I might be doing that in 2 weeks. That's how important it is. These are the feasts of Yahweh, which you will proclaim to be Kodesh convocations, to offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh, a burnt offering and a grain offering, a sacrifice of drink offerings, everything on its day, besides the Shabbatot of Yahweh, besides your gifts, besides all your vows, and it goes on and on. Also on the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruit of the land, you will keep the feast of Yahweh for 7 days. On the first day there will be a Sabbatot of rest, and on the 8th day a Sabbatot of rest. And you will take for yourselves on the first day fruits of the both of trees, and tells you how to make your Sukkot. So you do make a Sukkot, and to me it's just like the thing with fasting. It helps you to understand more about humbling when you're hungry. It is easier to realize that you are Toshab. Toshab is where Abraham was. Toshab means you're a sojourner. We do not have stakes in this earth. And what this tabernacling does is help us to remind us that we do not have stakes in this earth. When you have a tabernacling situation, you realize how much we are dependent on the things of this earth for our routine lives. I would not be here right now if I didn't have a car. I'm using electricity and technology to get this message to you. I'm using all the things of this earth just to share this word. Hundreds of things I'm doing now, even the paper, the print, all this, everything is from the machinations of this world. If you're in a situation, and the thing about all the Kodesh Moedim, they speak to agricultural living. City living is anti Moedim. It's harder to see the stars. You get distracted from all the business of what's going on down here on the horizontal plane. And how can you even get all the vegetables and the fruits and all that stuff that goes along with it? Kodesh living is agricultural egalitarian living. This is why Lot got in trouble. This is why Lot got in trouble going into the city, getting drawn in and sucked in, and had to be dragged out by angels. City living gets us sucked in. So if you have your Sukkot, and it helps you to realize how much we are like those who live on the earth. Now, why is that important? I talked about that in Revelations alone 7 or 8 times. Those who live on the earth get the bowl judgments. They get the bowl judgments. The remnant who's also living on the earth don't get them. They all living on the earth. Why is it that the others are being identified? Literally, Yahweh identifies the lost as those who live on the earth. At the same time, the remnant are living on the earth too. So why aren't they getting no judgment? Because their stake, their equity, their heart and mind and emotions and their future plans are not from the things of the earth. We ought to be like Abraham, Toshab, sojourners. And the first time we literally officially took ground in the Holy Land, when Yahushua got us into the land, we kept Sukkot. The first thing we did was we kept Sukkot before we took the land. So, if you, and even when we Sukkot, what we still do? We still gonna have my phone. So you don't have electricity or whatever. You try not to do some things. You're still gonna use technology. You might still have an area that's gonna be cooled or heated. It is really no way to absolutely honor the agricultural type living unless you just totally go into the woods somewhere and don't have nothing else supporting you, eating off the land, all that, whatever. But it shows you how dependent and how frail we are, even the most righteous of us, not really being independent from this world. Where in the judgment time, those who are dependent on this world will be the ones who are going to be judged. So if we're dependent on this world today, what is that saying about us as we go to our homes and drive our cars and then go to work? Really, this day really uncovers us. It exposes us to how deep we are into the machinations of this world. This feast day right here exposes us. It really does. Genesis 33:17 is our first record of understanding of a sukkah. Jacob, who was a type of the Messiah, built a sukkah for the sheep. Yahweh says in John 14:1-3, he's going to prepare a place for us. The way the Hebrew traditional marriage goes is the father chooses the bride. Did not we get chosen? You did not say, hey, I want to do what's right. I know I didn't. He chose us. We didn't choose him. You know, the parents always knows the child before the child knows the parents. My man here, Gray, have a daughter. When she's born, he already knows that he is. And she ain't even come out yet. How long is it going to take for her to know that that's her father? It's always the daddy who knows the child, or the mommy knows the child before the child knows the mommy and daddy. That's always the case. So we are known by him. The Father chose us. He betrothed us to his son. Now his son builds a place for us adjacent to the Father's house. This is how the traditional Hebrew weddings go, which we don't do now. We meet somebody and we say, hey, we like them, we hook up and we do whatever. But according to Torah, that's how it goes. Yahweh Shua, like I said, he enacts all the roles. And he does his part. Our job is just to accept the free ticket, sit down, shut up, and learn. Sit down, shut up, watch, shema, hear, listen, and do. Simple. We got the easiest. We ain't got to go up on stage and know our lines and remember nothing. Sit down and shut up. You'll find yourself knowing a whole lot more. So he sets the sukkah up, and what does Yahushua do? He sets sukkah up for his sheep. This is what Jacob did for his sheep. Yahushua does it for his sheep. That is us. The word sukkah is Hebrew word number 5521. It means hut, lair, booth, covert, cottage, den. So it's a temporary dwelling. So you have temporary dwelling. Whatever it is, it's not someplace you can just live in and raise a family in. It's not that. It's a temporary dwelling. And that's what you set up. That's what you go to, however you do it. That's what you do. And again, it helps make it tangible and physically real to you. Our relationship with the Most High. How we have a temporary relationship on this earth because we're waiting for a permanent relationship with Him. So we live in this temporary situation waiting for the permanent one with Him. He says in Leviticus 23:42 that we're to keep this, all those who are genetically born to Him, or those who are of Him. Let me go and read see how it exactly says in verse 42. I don't want to misquote it. You will live in booths for 7 days. All who are native Israelites will live in booths. Native. That means His children. Now, If he adopts children, it also includes them. Because you adopt a child, that's yours too. So you go out and call out and you say, all right, y'all come on in here and eat. And you have a natural born son and adopted daughter, she going to come in, that's your daughter. You adopted her, that's your daughter. She come in to eat with her brother. That's her brother. May have came from your loins, and that daughter came from somebody else's loins, you adopted her. So all those who are in the family of Yahweh Shua come in to tabernacle. Whether you're Hebrew or any other, something else, whatever you may be. It's for those who are in the family name that belongs to him. Isn't it interesting that Yahweh Shua also was in the tabernacle? Now, last year even, I taught that Yahweh Shua was born on tabernacles. That is an option, or that has a lot of weight to that, a whole lot of weight to it. But really, I don't think it was. It was on Yom Teruah. And I did pose both of those situations. It was on, I'm leaning and that was on Yom Teruah. It was not at this time, but he did Sukkot among us. John 1:14. Let's read John 1:14. And it reads, let's go to John 1:14. And let's go. And it reads, and the Word became flesh and tabernacled among us. And we looked at his glory, the glory of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. So we got right here that he actually tabernacled with us. And he did do this. And where was Yahushua born? In Bethlehem. What is Bethlehem in the Hebrew? House of bread. Bethlehem, actually, if you go, is only 5 miles out of the city of David. It's 5 miles away. And that's where the sheep were raised and kept for the Passover. And for any of the feast times. So the sheep, so anyone who came from far, far away, they knew when they get to Bethlehem, that's where they can get their sheep and then bring it into Jerusalem. So it's very fitting that Yahweh Shua will be born in Bethlehem, and he sukkot in, because there was no room in the inn, so he lived in a temporary place, shelter, for probably a couple of years or whatever. And the word says that he tabernacled with us. And when he was born in the house of bread, he is the bread of life. And he is, one of his roles that he enacts is the sheep, is the lamb. So the lamb were raised there for sacrifice. All the lamb and sheep in Bethlehem were there for sacrifice. We know that the narrative shows that this was the time where the shepherds had the lambs in the field. They were in the field, so we know it was not Christmas time. It was not in December. They don't have them out there in the winter. They're now out there eating snow. So I think it's very poignant and it's very profound how the Lamb of Yahweh was offered to us in Bethlehem, the house of bread, where people go to get their lambs for sacrifice. And they take them into Jerusalem and they send them to the temple for sacrifice. Isn't that that's very poignant. It's very profound. It's very telling. So we got Al Messiah, who was a sheep raised for slaughter. Raised for slaughter. That was the whole point of his birth for you and me. Isaiah 4:2-6. Praise Yah. Isaiah 4:2-6. This is about the renewal of Zion. In that day, the branch of Yahweh, remember I said one of his roles was playing the branch, will be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth will be excellent and appealing for those of Israel who have escaped. So we're talking about the remnant. And it will come to pass that he who is left in Zion, see who is left, that's the remnant, and remains remnant in Jerusalem will be called Kodesh. Everyone who is recorded among the living in Jerusalem. This is all the remnant. Keep saying it over and over again. When the sovereign has washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion, and purged the blood of Jerusalem from her middle, and by the ruach of judgment, and by the ruach of burning, then Yahweh will create above every dwelling place on Mount Zion, and above her assemblies, a cloud and smoke by day, and the shining of a flaming fire by night. Because over all the glory there will be a covering, a tabernacling, and there will be a tabernacle for shade in the daytime, from the heat, for a place of refuge, and for a shelter from a storm of rain. Remember, I told you these winter Moedim, or fall, whatever you want to call them, there's only 2 seasons. These are for the prophetic future. This has not happened yet. Read it again for yourself in Yeshayah 4, verses 2 through 6. All of Yahweh's family, his remnant, are going to tabernacle. All of them who are left. And if you die here, then you're not one of the remnant. If you're here during this time of judgment and salvation, they happen at the same time. Thou shalt tabernacle. Don't you think you better practice now? Rehearsal, rehear. Rehearsal, rehear. Practice now. Practice now. See, this whole thing about tabernacling is very intimate. This is intimacy. Intimacy. It's like marriage. The husband and wife, they're under the chuppah. The chuppah is like a tabernacle. And then you have tabernacle. It's all about family. This is why the Hasatan had Thanksgiving at this time of the year. Because it's all about family coming in together, and everybody's. This is the joyful. This is the most joyful of all of the Moedim. This is a happy, rejoicing time. You got 7 days of kicking up your heels. You ain't going to lose no weight this week. You eating and drinking. Drink your wine. Eat your bread. Eat your butter. Eat your cheese. Have a good old time this week and celebrate. I'm going to talk about that too, about this celebration thing. And about joyfulness. But this is a joyful time. This is a family time. This is everybody getting together. You know, we like to have a good time. You know how brothers and sisters get. And you get food and they have a little drinky drink with you too. Talking about being off the chain. This is the time to be. Righteously off the chain. Enjoy yourself with the family of Yah. 7 days, and then you have Shemini Azeret, the 8th day, the last great day. It's a joyful family time. This is why Hasatan has Thanksgiving and Christmas at this time, to try to go ahead and blur the lines. But this is a fun time. And it's an intimate time. Intimacy. He says, I'm at the door and I knock to come in. That's not an individual house or setting. That's a family. He said, I'll come to the door and knock. He's talking about coming to the family, not your own personal, your own room. That's not that means. He's coming to the church, if you will. Quote unquote church. I'm putting it in quotes. Coming and knocking at the door of the assembly, of the called out ones. The ecclesia, the called out ones. And they will receive him, they will come in and rejoice and eat and drink with him. He even told the disciples, I'm going to drink this cup at that last great day. He said, I ain't going to drink no wine now. I'm going to have it then. Yahweh sure is going to drink the wine. And then when he raised the cup, and we're going to drink it. Now, those who live on the earth, they get the bitter. They get the bitter. They get theirs too. But that's something different. They're getting that strong stuff. You're going to get the sweet stuff. You're going to get the sweet stuff, those who receive the love of Yahweh Shua HaMashiach. So, I want you to remember Isaiah 4, 2 through 6, because it talks about a future tabernacling event by the remnant of Yahweh's family. Now, what about, let's go to Hosea 12 and 9. Hosea 12 and 9 reads, But I am Yahweh, your mighty one. Ever since the land of Mizraim, I will again make you live in tents, as in the days of the appointed feast of the Moedim. Yahweh says he ain't giving you no option. You're out here funning and gunning, sunning and running, kicking up your heels. I'm going to make you do it. And this is at a time that has not happened yet. Because here's the thing. When we kept Sukkot, we went 40 years in the desert. We didn't keep Sukkot, even though we got the law on how to do it from Moshe. The first time we kept it was under Yahushua before going in to conquer the land. The next time we kept Sukkot as a nation was during the time of Ezra and Nehemiah. And then we haven't kept it since. We have not done it. We have not repented and as a nation been keeping this time. We have not been doing it. So Yahweh says to us who's supposed to be humble sojourners, he's going to make us do it. He's going to make us do it this is a future event, a future time when we are going to be forced to do it. Like I said, 7 times in the book of Revelations alone, Yahweh talks about dispensing bold judgments to those who live on the earth. Those who are not going to get the judgments are going to be safely tabernacled. So how's it you're going to say you should not do tabernacling now? This could be the one where Yahweh comes. Do you know when he's going to come? Suppose he comes at this time and you didn't tabernacle. Then you're exposed to the bold judgments. I suggest you do as the record says for what you can do. Is that you make yourself vulnerable. Yahweh sure made himself vulnerable. This is how he was able to be beat and smacked and kicked and spat on. By making himself vulnerable. The devil couldn't do that to him while he sat on his throne up in Hashemayim. Yahweh sure had to come down here and put on flesh. And leave himself exposed to the enemy. For the love of us. Expose yourself. Get out of your 197 channel TV. And your 6G, 7G, whatever you got. Whatever technology you got. Leave it alone for a little while. I'm going to miss the Ravens tonight. Lamar probably get up and should do his thing tonight. That's a small loss, but I like to see it tonight. But I won't be seeing it tonight. 6:46 p.m. Full moon. Be there or be square. Now, there are some more things I want to talk about. I want to save it because this Kodesh Moedim is actually in 2 parts because the last day is like a separate part. There's a whole lot of water involved also in this appointed time. I want to spend some time to talk about. But I do want to briefly go over a few scriptures that I'm going to review again next week in probably more detail. Let's see. Let's look at, one of them is Zechariah. And we look at Zechariah 14:16. And it reads, this is about the nations worshiping the king. Zechariah 14:16. And it will come to pass that everyone who is left, once again talking about remnant stuff. Remember, here's another thing. There are 2 remnants. There's the righteous remnant and there's an unrighteous remnant. So there's really 2 remnants. So anyway, everyone who is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem will go up from year to year to worship the king, Yahweh Shabbaot, and to keep the Khag Sukkot. Once again, that's a future event that has not happened yet, which all of the winter Moedim speaks to the future. This is a millennial kingdom time, and this is when everyone will be forced to keep the Feast of Tabernacles, good, bad, evil, indifferent, fat, skinny, short, tall, black, white, and all in all. You will have no options. It's right here in the book. This has not happened yet. You're going to keep, if you're breathing, you're going to keep it. If you don't, you get thrust through. You get killed. And show that in the record. And then we talk. There's a lot about this water. Yahushua at the Feast of Tabernacles in John 7:37-38. I'm not going to go there. On the last great day, he stood out in the courtyard and said he was the water of life. Remember, I talked about one of the roles that Yahweh Shua enacts is the water. He is the living waters. He is the rock. The waters comes out of the rock. He says, I am the living waters. How many people came up to him to drink? How many people came up to him? The disciples looked at him wondering what was going on. What he talking about? Still didn't get it. He yells that out into the courtyard in John 7:37-38. Then we have Revelation 21. I was not going to go there, but see, I do have time, so I will go there. Since I do have the time. Normally I run out of time. Now I see I have time, so I will go there. Because this is deep. This time, this Moedim here, this one here is really special. This is the one where, remember, all these things that happen. First you have the Yom Teruah, which happens on a new moon, which this is the record says no one knows the time or hour because the new moon is something you can't see. So how do you know exactly is it the first or the second day of the new moon? Because it's 2 days. Then you have Yom Kippur, which is the morning, which hasn't not happened on a national level. And then you have this time, which is you have judgment and salvation at the same time. Remember, when we came out of Mizraim, there was judgment on the Egyptians, and there was redemption for us. At the Sea of Reeds, there was judgment on the Egyptians and redemption for us. It happens at the same time. In the book of so-called Revelations, which is Golah, you have judgments and redemption at the same time. During the bowl judgments, you have redemption of the remnant at the same time. Of the righteous remnant. There are two remnants. You have the wicked remnant, just got finished reading about them in Zechariah, and you have the righteous remnant. Now, that brings us to Revelation 21, 1-3, and it reads, Now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, because the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. Also there was no more sea. Then I, Yachanan, saw the Kodesh city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of Hashemayim from Elohim, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from Hashemayim saying, Look, the Sukkote, this is the Sukkah of Elohim, is with men, and he will live with them, and they will be his people. Elohim himself will be with them and be their mighty one. Didn't we just read in John 1:14? Yahweh Shua tabernacle with us. Now we're reading here in Revelation 21:3, Yahweh tabernacles with us. He always intended to be with us. He's never been somebody far away. He's always been right here, even at our mouth. You speak and he's there. He's always tended to be with us. He's never been a distant mighty one. This is a family thing, intimate. You don't have birth children and you send them in down the street and live down the street. They live in the house with you, there with you, to be together. Way back in Genesis 3:8, he came to tabernacle with Adam and Mother Hawa. At the appointed time, they were up in the serpent's face. Will you be up in the serpent's face today when it's time to tabernacle? In this last day, this right here, this is the time. This is why I love Shemini Etzeret, because the 8th day is the eternal time. Time will be no more. You'll have no more need for sun, moon, and stars. You know, the figure 8 turned sideways means eternity. A symbol for eternity. The 8th day is the eternal day. There's no more time. Time will be no more. You will be tabernacling with the Most High. Now, the way I interpret that is that we're going to always have corporate worship and praise of the Most High Yah. We'll always do that on a corporate level. But then we always, eternally, will have our own mikdosh, our own separate worship with him at separate times. Because remember, Yahshua says he has many Sukkotes for us. The King James Version says many mansions. It's not a mansion. You don't go there and you have no mansion. You're going to have many separate worshiping places with our new name. Remember, the name giver gives all of us, each of us, a new name. A name that has no connection to sin. A name that has no history of sin. A name that has no memory of sin. We have a new name. And remember, while we're living here in the flesh, none of us has reached our maximum potential of what we should have done. None of us. We've all fallen short. We've together become corrupt. There's none who does tob, no, not one. The best of our righteousness is like a filthy menstrual rag. That's what the record says. Your best is a menstrual rag. So, we have not fully, even though you live perfectly now, true. You received Yahweh and you received him. You're living perfectly now by the power and authority given to you by him. Still, we have a history of having done him wrong. So we have not met our complete potential. If you have never sinned, where you are right now, you wouldn't be. If you even be alive right now, somebody probably killed you like they did Stephen. Young man, the first martyr for the Besorah. The first one. Martyr for the Besorah. Young man. So you may have been killed. I may have been killed long, long ago for this love of this. Or still living now, would you be married to the person you're married with? Will you have the children you have? Would you even be having a job? Would you be living like Yochanan the Baptist? If you live perfectly, you would not be where you are right now. If you had lived perfect from all your days. So that means we're going to be recreated when we get these new bodies, married with the eternal soul that belongs to Yahweh and our new name. Then I believe at that time we have eternity to fulfill our purpose that Yahweh has always intended for us to be. We have eternity to be all and everything that we're supposed to have been, that we failed right here. Yahweh said in Matthew 5:48, therefore be perfect as my Father in heaven is perfect. He told us to be perfect. He didn't say try to do your best. Because if he said do your best, then everybody is saved. Everybody can do their best. Then that means the door is open for everybody. So he doesn't tell you to do your best. He says be perfect. So thankfully we have the mercy seat. Not thankful that we had another law. That's desolation that lays waste. Not thankful that he gave us more commandments. Oh, Yehonathan, you didn't be perfect. You messed up right here. Here's 10 more laws. That's not what he did. Oh, Yehonathan, you failed over there. You missed the mark. You fell short. You accept me. Yes, I accepted Yahweh HaMashiach. Here's Chayim. Here's grace. Actually, here's Tekanal, which is miracle grace. So it's really Tekanal. I taught that, and I even got a whole portion of my book, my first book, talking about Tekanal. Miracle grace. That's what you get. You get miracle grace. He told Abraham at 99 years old, go in front of me, walk in front of me, and be perfect. And Abraham did that. So much so that when he finally did get his son, he had the knife raised, ready to slit his throat. He laid all on the altar for his love for Yahweh in faith that Yahweh still was going to populate the world through his seed. He had the knife coming down on Yitzhak's throat before he was stopped. His ticket was in the thicket. Your ticket is in the thicket. Are you laying all on the altar at this tabernacle time? Are you a burnt sacrifice? Are you giving a burnt? I told you this thing about fire. I'm going to give this lesson specifically about fire. Because why does y'all have to say over and over again, give me an offering made by fire? Like you need to be told that. That's like your parents telling you to take a bath with water. You can't take a bath without water. So why would your mother say, get in the tub and take a bath, put water in the tub. Why would mom have to say that? She doesn't say that. She doesn't say that. She said, go take a bath, boy. You already know to put water in. Why do y'all gotta tell you make an offering with fire? There's no such thing as making an offering on an altar with no fire. There ain't no such thing. So why is Yahweh saying over and over and over and over again, I'll give you the number, 100 times, make the offering made by fire, and are your ears dull? He who has an ear, let him hear. He's saying it for a reason. Obviously, there's something going over top of your head in the slavery language called English. You got to go to Ibari if you want to understand that. You got to go Ibari. Original words gives you authentic truth. Are you an offering made by fire during this Sukkot? Is your Sukkah an offering made by fire? Is it all on the altar? Are you a burnt sacrifice? Whatever you're doing it from the heart, like Abraham did. He put his son as a sacrifice on the altar. And Yitzhak did not turn away. He put the throat up there. The man was 30 years old. He could have fought off that old man. Father, 120 something years old. Father's 130. You think he could have fought dad off? Yeah, what? Not to mention that it's against the Torah to put a human as a sacrifice. So it doesn't make sense. So dad lost his rocket. He getting old. Daddy getting old. Trying to put me up in here. You know good well that ain't Torah. You know that ain't Torah. So it was deep. So we're going to talk about next week this word Khag, where it comes from. We're going to talk about Shemini and Rex. We're going to review some of these scriptures. I'm going to talk about Deuteronomy 28, 47, and 48 because I let my time go by. But the thing about rejoicing, I bless Yahweh for Pastor Williams who put that to my mind about the reason why we got scattered was because we didn't rejoice. I'm going to talk about that because this is a time of rejoicing. We didn't get scattered for breaking all those commandments. We got scattered for not loving Yahweh with verve and energy and fire and passionate. We did not passionately love him. That's why we got scattered, not for not keeping those commandments. Mm-hmm. So then, Yehonatan with you here. Shalom Aleichem. Peace be on you.
Celebration of Sukkote has begun as we raise our prayers.